Hello guys, I just want to this morning do another study in the book The Pilgrim's Progress, and this time we're in chapter 3 and we pick up with the main character Christian as he's travelling with a companion at this time called Pliable. And so Pliable, by his name, is a character who is easy to convince to come on the journey, or easy to convince of many things. And suddenly, at this point in the journey in chapter 3, they fall into a swamp. And this swamp is called the Slough of Despond, or we could call it the Swamp of Despondency. Christian, because of the burden that is on his back, begins to sink. And Pliable becomes quite agitated at this stage. And he questions Christian, is this the happiness that you told me about as we travelled? He suggests that Christian should now perhaps continue his journey on his own, and he gives up at this point. He scrambles out of the swamp and heads back home and leaves Christian sinking in the swamp. Christian manages to struggle towards the side of the swamp in the direction of the wicket gate. And then suddenly another character enters the scene, and this character is called Help. Christian says, "Sir, I was advised to go this way by a man named Evangelist, and he directed me towards the wicket gate ahead so that I might escape from the wrath to come. But as I was pressing forward, I fell in here." Help responds, "But why did you not look for the steps across the mire?" Christian says, "I was so fearful in my escape that I missed the safe way across the mire and fell in." Help says, "Then give me your hand." So Christian stretched out his hand, and Help lifted him up out of the mire and set him on solid ground. Christian is then encouraged by Help to go on his way, continue towards the wicket gate. The author then questions Help at this point as to why this swamp is left in the path of travellers on their way to the wicket gate. And Help explains, as the travelling sinner is awakened about his lost condition, there arises in his soul many fears and doubts concerning himself. Then all of these accumulate and pile up in this place. And so this is the reason for the badness of this ground. It is not the pleasure of the king that this place should remain in such a bad condition. It is true, according to the directive of the lawgiver, that a number of reliable and solid steps have been placed through the very middle of the swamp. So, to unpack this scene a little bit more, Christian is alone here, sinking in a swamp of despondency, unable to pull himself out, and then he is rescued by this character Help. What's going on? So the character Help we can see as the Holy Spirit. In John 16 verses 7 and 8, Jesus says, "I tell you the truth, it is to your advantage that I go away, for if I do not go away, the Helper will not come to you. But if I depart, I will send him to you. And when he comes, he will convict the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment." And the swamp of despondency is, we believe, drawn right from Psalm 40 verses 1 and 2, where King David uses this imagery. "I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined to me and heard my cry. He also brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock and established my steps." So it's God's Spirit who not only convicts us of our sin, but also by testifying to our hearts of our right standing with God. The steps represent the promises of Jesus Christ in the gospel. They are many. Here's a couple for you. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will be by no means cast out. John 6:37. And in Romans 5:8 we read, "But God demonstrated his own love towards us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." John Bunyan points out several truths concerning the promises that are in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Firstly, they are placed by the direction of the lawgiver. He gives us his promises in his word. Secondly, they are good and substantial. In other words, they can be trusted, for they come from the one who cannot lie. And thirdly, they are placed through the very midst of the swamp. Even when we struggle, even when we are under the weight of our sin, or we are struggling with sinful behaviour that we cannot seem to get over, the promises of God in his word remain true. They are always present and always there for our comfort and our hope. So we don't allow ourselves just to sink in deeper and deeper into the swamp of despondency. We have to remember the steps that lead us back on the path to the wicket gate, the narrow gate. And those steps are the sure and certain promises of God. Have a fantastic day.